Hey, what's up everybody, One Truth here, and it brings great pleasure to bring you a new class, a new build and everything, the new Stamina Warden I have finally completed. I've searched around and tested out some things, and I've finally got it how I wanted. I've seen a few other builds, and I feel like the Warden has been really rushed right now, and even now I feel like mine isn't up to where I want it, but it might be because of how the Warden plays. Right now, the Warden has a few drawbacks, but it's got its pros and its cons. Some really good pros, some really bad cons, and we'll talk about those later on. Right now, because I am Stamina, I had to pick between the Stamina races, and I chose Bosmer, or Wood Elf. Wood Elf, reason being, is Yafir's Endurance, 21% stam recovery with the reduction of mitigation of cost and a few other things with this patch. I chose Wood Elf for this specifically because of that. And also the max stamina and the resistances or whatever. The stealthy, I don't really care too much about. Yeah, cool, 10% increased damage from stealth, but whatever. The 21% stam recovery and the 6% max stealth is what we're after. I did go ahead and pick Vampire. Reason being is I want some of the sustain, and I also want that undeath passive. For my drink, I'm using the Dubious Cameron Throne, and that's, as you can see, 32k max stam. The stam recovery is a little bit low, but it will go up later on when you see me fully buffed. This is the unbuffed stats. So we'll go ahead and buff up. And as you see, it goes up. Now, we'll cover the champion point allocation. I would like to think it's mid-maxed, but there's a few things that I've noticed. I don't know if I want to change it. There's still a lot of variables that I'm investigating and looking at. Right now, starting out with the steed as usual, and disclaimer that if any time you feel I am rushing the champion points, you can pause it and it'll give you a screenshot and you'll be able to reference it from there. So 12 points ironclad, 55 points resistant, 50 in the hardy, 50 in the elemental defender, and 43 in the quick recovery. 23 in the warlord, 100 in the mooncalf, which I highly recommend 75, but because I can't figure out what I would do with those 25 points yet. 46 in tenacity, 23 tumbling, and then 18 Shadow Ward. 43 Blessed, 75 Mastered Arms, 20 Precise, 20 Piercing, and then 52 Mighty. Reason I've got more in Master of Arms, as you see, direct damage, as to just increasing your damage. So Master of Arms is a new thing. They did change the champion tree quite a bit, and you get more out of it the less points you put in. The more points later on, you'll start getting less values, so you're nickel and diming yourself toward the latter end of it. Moving on. Skill rotations. Starting out with the bow, I'm using Subterranean Assault, which is under Animal Companions, Cutting Dive, Animal Companion, Bull Netch, again Animal Companion, Ice Fortress, Winter's Embrace, and Bird of Prey, which is Animal Companion. Let's break down the bar a little bit more. Excuse me. Subterranean Assault, as you can see, what happens, it's like a stamina curse. When you pop it, you wait 3 seconds, and then it'll shoot 3 of these, whatever they are, shocks, and they do a lot of damage. It's also AoE, perfect for bombing. This is what the build is. And it also applies a major fracture, and it reduces their spell and their physical resistance. Cutting Dive is blockable but not dodgeable. It does a lot of damage, and it's an excellent spammable ability. It's slow. Bull Netch. I really love Bull Netch, and there's some questions that I had and had to change around my build even here recently. But Bull Netch I can't take off. It restores 4,029 stamina over 25 seconds and gives me a major brutality and a major sorcery. Ice Fortress. It gives me major ward and major resolve. I drew a blank right there. And it gives me 5k resistances on both physical and spell. And then it also gives me minor protection and reduces all incoming damage by 8%. I was kind of torn putting Arctic Blast on there. Arctic Blast is like a hurricane almost that heals you and does ice damage over time, but it's only a 10-second buff. That's why I don't like it. And last but not least, Bird of Prey. Because this is a bomb build, I don't have Shuffle on. I put Bird of Prey. Bird of Prey gives me Major Expedition. It gives me Stamina Recovery, and I get a Minor Berserk, increases my damage by 8%. That's why I use it. Yes, Shuffle's nice, but I can also use Bird of Prey, and it's a magic ability. I've got 2 magic abilities on there. And let's take also a look really fast. Bull Netch doesn't cost anything, which I think that should be nerfed, but whatever. But 2 magic abilities, so that's only 7,000 magic that I'm using, and that's it. That's more of an escape thing. That's also why I have a bow, because I can use Hasty Retreat and get that Major Expedition. You want to keep moving until you get your burst up, and then like close the distance, hit them with your burst, and then create distance. That's how you want to play this. My back bar, I chose a 2-handed maul. I wanted to put Rally on there, but I was kind of torn. Rally's a pretty good heal, and it gives a burst heal at the end of the effect. However, if we take a look at Green's Embrace, the Soothing Spore, it gives a lot of HP. It's a burst heal that gives more than Rally, and then if you're at low HP, you get a major mending with the first passive. So that's incredible. If we read the first passive, when healing, you or an ally under 40% health with a green balance ability, you gain major mending, increasing your healing done by 25% for 3 seconds. So I can, if I get low, I can pop that burst heal and pop Vigor, and I'll be back at full HP. So that covers Resolving Vigor and Soothing Spores. I don't have Rally on because 1, I'm already getting the Major Brutality, and 2, it's not as good as Soothing Spores. Now Critical Rush, I'm using Crit Rush to close the distance. You can change that to Stampede if you like because there's not many CCs. Dizzying Swing, I use it for the knockdown, which for later on, if you don't have the Dawnbreaker up to do substantial burst, you can just pop the Subterranean Assault and hit them with the Dizzying Swing, and it'll do a lot of burst, and it'll put them in execute range. Reverse Slice. The bread and butter, when you do the burst on a huge Zerg, you'll be able to do Reverse Slice, and the amount of damage you're putting out, you're guaranteed to get quite a bit of kills. And on both bars, I'm using Dawnbreaker Smiting. I did test the bear. The bear is really slow, and I would really like to work with the bear. It does more damage than Dawnbreaker over time, but the bear misses a lot of his attacks. He's really slow, and he just needs to be fixed. If they would fix the bear would be the better ultimate. So that covers that up. I'm using just trash stand pots right now to proc the Clever Alchemist. So it's whatever, but if you want to, you can give yourself Endurance pot with max stam recover, or excuse me, give yourself max stam and then an immovable. So you'll be able to pop that potion and get the Clever Alchemist proc, and then rush in there and bomb them. But that moves on to the next point. My armor. I'm using 1 Velidreth, 1 Kina. I need Impen on my Kina. I've got Impen on everything else but my Kina. Then I have 5-piece Clever Alchemist, 3 Agility, all weapon damage, and then Clever Alchemist weapons. That needs to be changed. I have a Master Bow that's not the best trait. I need to finish up getting that. But you can run a Maelstrom Bow or Master Bow, but for sure you need a Maelstrom Maul. If you have that, your weapon damage would be way over the top. A lot of the Warden abilities cost not much at all. And one thing, right now, if we go back and check the buff out, $43.56 weapon damage. If we do an 8% increase, that'll put us roughly about 4,900 to 5,000 weapon damage. If you had a Maelstrom weapon, it'll be buffed up to about 51, 52, and if you have the Alliance War passive for taking a resource, what is it called? Continuous attack, it'll be even higher. So if you have those 2 abilities, you'll be able to go in and just blow things up. And that's how you want to play it. What I'm going to do now is demonstrate how to actually play this And let me go ahead and leave Cyrodiil. I'll pause it for the time being. Alright, before I show the rotation portion of the video, I'd like to go ahead and talk about the pros and cons of the Warden. The pros: the Warden does the most burst damage I've ever seen out of any class. It will decimate anybody and just ultimate burst. If you can get the burst off and time it properly, they will crumble and you'll get the confirmed kill. Now the con is everything is slow. I'll even show you. Like, I'm kind of wanting to test out, and this is something I'm going to test out later on. Dual wield in one hand and shield, and then dual wield in two hand. But everything on the Warden class abilities are really slow, and you have to time it off the burst. And that's why I set it up with the gear set that I did, and I wanted to set it up for complete burst to complement the class itself. So those are the pros and cons of it. It's really hit and run, and I'm not a big fan of it. But I do enjoy nuking like 10, 12 people at a time. That is really fun. So starting out with the rotations, what I like to do is go ahead and buff up, pop the potion, pop Subterranean Assault, pop the cutting dive, and cut in at the same time. So the sub assault and the crit rush landed at the exact same time, and that did a lot of damage. As you can see, 19k sub assault, 14k crit rush, and then 10k cutting dive. Obviously, you can cut that in half. Now, one thing I'd like to point out as soon as this bull Netch goes away is when I pop sub assault. This is how you time it. You see the circle on my feet close in. As soon as it touches my feet, that's when I want to go in. Maybe just slightly before, but you need to learn how to time that. That's where it's important. That's where you're timing everything. It's kind of like dealing with a Magicasaur with a curse. That's why I said it's like a stamina curse. If I can go ahead and get my ultimate up. Alright, reapply buffs. And right there. 60 AK. You can cut that in half. 34,000 burst. And that's what you would have on players. Most, on average, players have anywhere from 20,000 to about 30,000 HP, 30,000 being not so common. So, the rotations, the burst, everything is... The Warden is designed for Zerg bombing. I wholeheartedly believe that. But, that pretty much covers this. What I would like to do... is have you guys input what you guys think, what you would recommend changing up, and we'll try to build a Stamina Warden that will ultimately, here in the next 6-7 months, be the new meta for Stam Warden. If this turns out to be the meta, awesome, I created the meta. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But, if it doesn't, I would like for you guys to assist and help do this. In the meantime, let everybody know about this build, tell everybody about the channel, and also like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.